I just want to say, I don't think I say it when I'm talking, but if you wait till the end of this video, I'm going to slice up all the tomatoes, or what I can, of what I talk about, and you can actually see what these Heirloom Open Pollinated tomatoes are like inside. So, welcome, and let's get on with the video. Hey guys, welcome back to Alternative Smallholding. I'm Jazz. We're at home today, and I thought it was about time that we talked tomatoes. And not green tomatoes, not blighted tomatoes, ripening tomatoes. Big ones. So as you will know, this year we planted 120 tomato plants. That wasn't just in our growing spaces, it was also around the garden, the back garden, and at the front of the house as well. We've grown heirloom tomatoes before, but the most we've ever grown was like 37 plants or something like that. So I wanted to try and be self-sufficient in one vegetable for the year to try and gauge how many we needed to grow of that. Am I even in focus for you? I hope so. So we could try and gauge how many we needed to grow of that one vegetable to process for like sauces, soups, passata, bakes, eaten fresh, burgers, things like that, salads, and we chose tomatoes for our first one. So we went for 120 plants, not because I plucked that number out of thin air, but because I went and procured quite a few varieties of tomatoes, and I wanted to have a substantial amount of things like the cooking tomatoes and then try lots of other ones, and it came to 120 plants that we could fit into our growing space. They're all heirlooms, they're all open pollinated, but we got blight, and I said I wasn't going to talk about the B word, but it needs to be mentioned really, doesn't it? So the last time you probably saw our tomatoes, they look like this, green. We got 2 big barrows full of them, but now that's all we have left of the green tomatoes. Don't fall on me, okay? Don't fall. So we did give some away. A friend of ours had like a big bag full of them to use for things like green tomato chutney. I didn't make any green tomato chutney. I know a lot of people recommended that I did, but really not a fan. I wanted to either give them a chance to ripen or see if the blight would come out, rather than use them for something that I'm not a fan of, and I don't know anybody who actually likes green tomato chutney other than my friend who had the tomatoes, who was going to make it for herself. So that was a good deal. We have been keeping an eye on them. They were all washed in a Vigana solution that Tracy recommended to us from Tracy's little patch of dirt. I'll link her below because she is awesome. She's a lovely friend of ours. And I soaked them in a vinegar solution in water and then dried each one of them off. I didn't dry all of them perfectly, and so some of them, I'll show you in a minute, have like a slight bit of like mouldy rot around the top because that's where the water sat in. I should have turned them upside down afterwards. So if you do soak your tomatoes, make sure you dry them upside down because there will be damp in there that can rot the tomato. And because of that, we saved like a lot. We have probably lost about 50 max out of the several hundred that we had, and I think we probably had about 400 tomatoes altogether, not counting the cherry ones. I mean like 400 like tomatoes. So I was really pleased with that. Some of them obviously had it some of them already obviously had it impregnated into the fruit, and they continue to get blight, but generally as a rule they've done really well. I mean, you can see by all the colours here behind me, really pleased with how they've gone. So whilst I've got them here, I thought I would show you them because I've talked about the varieties that we've been growing, and all you've seen is them all green, and they all look the same other than some variations in size and shape. So I'm going to show you some of the ones that we've grown, then I'm going to tell you which ones were the best, and we're going to cut them open and I'll show you what's inside, and they will be the ones that we are growing again next year. I've got those in front of me here. So in the basket here, shall I bring you over? Do you want to come and have a look? So this basket is full of beauties. We've got your dark tomatoes like this. We've got big cooking tomatoes. Ones like this one, which are like yellow on the bottom and purple on the top. You've got green cherries, yellow cherries. There are red like salad ones. That one's not quite ripe, they will go red. All the funky shapes like this, for instance. But these are just like the jewels of summer, and I'm actually going to be really sad when these are gone. Okay, so that's what our collection looks like at the moment. These are all that is left to ripen other than a bowl of cherries, which is behind you. So some of the varieties that we had that I'm not going to grow next year. Now I don't have all of them. I'm really sorry. This looks like it keeps going out of focus. I don't know why. It says that it's framed my face and it's focusing on my face, but I don't think it is. So if it isn't, I'm sorry. Okay. Right. Varieties that I won't be growing again. These. This is Great White Purple. These are the ones that whenever we showed you at the plot, the lovely purple dark tomatoes that were at the top, that was these. Now, as you can see underneath, they go from green to yellow, and I won't be growing them again, not because they're a bad tomato. They were quite prolific. They have a nice size. They're funky shapes, but that doesn't bother me at all. The reason I won't be growing them again is because they've got quite a tropical, smoky flavour. To me, they taste like smoky pineapple. Does that make sense? I'm not a fan of tropical flavours. Bidded and Rue, not that keen on it either. It is a good tomato. There's not many seeds. It's quite dense, but it's really, really nice, and it ripens quite slowly. So I imagine in a normal season it would be one of the later ones that you could harvest. So it'd be there at the end of the season for you. They're absolutely beautiful tomatoes, but they're not for us. I'm sorry to say, but another one we won't be growing is Brad's Atomic Grape. Again, not because it's a bad tomato, just because it was okay. It was nice. It is a bit tricky to tell when they're ripe. Now I can see it's ripe because it's squishy. Not like squishy, but soft. And some of them were like virtually all black, and some of them got the lovely orange and yellow patterning going through. You can see this one's got a lovely yellow star on the top, and they're very, very nice, but we didn't eat that many of them. I think they're like an in-between size between a cherry and a bigger tomato, and they were ones that we preferred, so we found that we were always picking the other ones over these. So I'm instead just going to choose a different one of the same kind of size, maybe a bit smaller, because Rue likes the smaller ones, and we'll be growing those instead. Another one we'll be growing is Agripoli di Inferno, or I'll put the name in the description or on the screen here. It's meant to be a tomato that you can like pick the whole vine, and then that ripe vine will store over winter, or for a good while, so you've got options for ripe tomatoes into winter. Just wasn't that fussed on it, to be honest. There was better varieties. Again, not a bad tomato. Black Frontula, this beauty, and it is a beauty. I actually really enjoyed it. The problem is it gave off like 3 tomatoes per plant, and it's just, I just think there's other better dark varieties that are more prolific. It is a nice tomato. If you want to try it, then you won't be disappointed. It just, in our conditions, maybe in our environment, it wasn't that prolific, so we won't be growing that next year. Also going to be growing, and I don't have them here to show you, but Dwarf Confetti was actually really, really nice, and that's part of the Dwarf Tomato project. It had lovely red and yellow stripy tomatoes, put off like 2 per plant, and they just got sick. They were just hot, they were nasty. So Dwarf Confetti I won't be growing again, despite it actually being a nice tomato. Sue, or however it's pronounced, just wasn't fussed with it. Sun Gold, I mean, you all know my opinion on Sun Gold tomatoes now, don't you? Even though it's not open pollinated one anyway, we somehow, I don't even know how it got into our growing plan for the year, but we ended up with a Sun Gold plant, but we won't be growing it again. Demidov, which again is a dwarf tomato project one, it had okay fruits, but the flavour was just lacking. It was just rather bland, to be honest. The wild tomato, which is like a hanging basket variety of tomato, which has got small tomatoes on. To be honest, we had hanging baskets with our tumbling tomatoes in, and our the wild tomatoes, and the tumbling tomatoes were not much nicer, and the wild tomatoes were just like bland. So, and nowhere near as prolific. A controversial one, but Brandy Boy or Brandywine. I think Brandy Boy is a breeding, like a improved version of Brandywine apparently, and I just didn't like it at all. It was bland, but then that might be my growing conditions, who knows. Great White Purple we've already said. Emerald Green Cherry. Now this actually, if you go onto my Instagram, was one that I listed as one of my best of the year. Now for flavour it definitely was, it was gorgeous, but again it wasn't very prolific and I want to try something new in that space. And then Zandel Green Goddess, which I was actually quite disappointed with because I really wanted to like it, and it was absolutely beautiful. It had a dark outer top similar to Black from Tula, and then the bottom was like a dark forest green, and when you sliced it open the flesh was green inside and it looked so beautiful, but it just didn't taste very nice at all. Yeah, so we won't be growing that again. So they're the ones we're not growing. So out of the 120 tomato plants that we grew in 2019, what has made it onto the list for next year? The first one I'm going to mention because this was our absolute family favourite. It was number 3, but as more and more of them have ripened, it's gone up to number 1, and that is Black Crim. Everybody loves it. It is just absolutely delicious. I love the size of it because it's a really nice slice of tomatoes, or it's perfect for sitting on a veggie burger or a normal burger, if that's what you eat. It's juicy, it has got a deep smoky flavour, but still really quite a little bit acidic, I found, which I like because I like acidic tomatoes. It was just beautiful. They grew really well. On one truss there was like 10 fruits, which was just crazy. Some of them are really ribbed. Let's see if I've got another one, hang on. That's not a good example, but some of them were like really fluted and it was really beautiful. Black Crim on number 1 of the year. On number 2, now this one doesn't look brilliant, and I had to film this today because this needs chopping up and I'm not wasting it another day. So this is Kosovo, and this produced the most tomatoes, these plants did, and the biggest ones. They came in at just short of £2 each virtually. This one is going over now, and as you can see on the top here, that's where the water sat when I washed them, and it has gone a little bit mouldy, but the rest of it is fine, so I'm just going to cut all that out. I decore my tomatoes before I store them anyway. But Kosovo, it's a cooking tomato, and it's really nice. It tastes nice fresh, you can just slice it and eat it that way, but because it's quite meaty and dense, then it actually makes really nice tomato sauce, we found. Number 3, these are stored in a little bag. Excuse my plaster on my hand, I cut it open on the chicken coop this morning. But that's these. These tiny beauties are Spoon, and they are basically the taste of a big in your face, explosion in your mouth tomato in a tiny tomato. I can't get enough of them, to be honest. It was the first tomato that I tried this year. I cannot get comfortable here. It was the first tomato I tried this year, and I thought, well, it's only tiny, see if I can eat it, and I did. And then I went on and tried other tomatoes, and now I know I can, like, if I wanted to. Well, I hope I could. I won't do it though, because I probably, knowing me, I'll get sick. But that was the first one. Everybody who's tried it, other than one, you know who you are, said that they are absolutely amazing, and people have said, you are saving seed from those, right? And I am. I have saved seed from everything. Even if I don't like it, I've saved the seed because I want to share them with other people, because I believe it's important to share seeds, especially things like heirloom varieties, because it's about keeping varieties that are old and have had breeders like bring them up through and from somebody growing them in the back garden in a little village somewhere and brought them up to production level so that we can all have them. I don't want these varieties to die off. That's really important to me. And in the UK we have very little opportunity to buy good heirloom or good open pollinated tomatoes. Our varieties are quite limited here, so if I can share some of these with people, that would be great. Rue wants to design some little packets for them, so that would be really cute. So yeah, Spoon, anyway, I planted it on a corner, it sprawled everywhere. Next year they're going in pots, but next year we're growing about 10 times as many because they are just lovely. They're lovely in salads and you just get these little pops of flavour. absolutely beautiful. So another one, I'm just going to cover the other ones now. These are ones that I absolutely recommend growing if you're in the UK. We grew all of our tomatoes outdoors and I didn't feed them once, which is probably why they got blight, but we won't discuss that now. So, anyway, the next one is Rumi Banjan, which is, it looks like a little pumpkin. You will have seen it in one of our previous videos in harvesting vegetables with Rue. And they're bright yellow and they're absolutely delicious, really, really tangy. They were my number one, but Black Rim made it to number one purely because everybody else loved it as well, and that's the family number one. But my personal number one is probably Rumi Banjan because it's quite tangy and really, the flesh is just lovely. It's lovely, the best tomato. So in terms of cookers, I'm going to mispronounce this now. Budanovka, I think it is Budanovka Pink, which is, I've been sitting here with some of these waiting for them to go red, and then I remembered they're a pink tomato, so although it may look red on the screen, this is definitely more of a pink blush than a red blush. But this is like a heart shaped, if you could see, ox heart, really dense cooking tomato, but again very nice to eat fresh. They're really prolific, they produce good sized fruits, so, you know, that's good for processing, and they're just really, really nice, so we'll be definitely doing those again. And another cooker that we'll be doing, so paste tomato, is this, which is Eros. The ends vary from like a point to like a stub, and you may be able to guess why they're called Eros, but yeah. But they're lovely. They have very few seeds, really easy to take out, and they're just, the flavour's very, very nice, so I'll be growing those again. And then we've got, I was really surprised at how many white or yellow tomatoes are in this list. So we've got Dugin White, and this is, I've heard that white tomatoes don't have the best flavour, so I wasn't expecting much from it. In fact, I only did one plant and I regret it now because these are delicious. Really, really nice. Not lots of seeds, but enough to give you that like nice juiciness and flavour. So that's definitely going on next year's list, and I'll be growing a lot more of them too. This is such a beauty. These were the ones that were dark purple that were down the bottom by the greenhouse if you've seen our other videos. And this is Amethyst Jewel. They come in a variety of shapes and sizes. Some of them were the same kind of size as Atomic Grape, and some of them were like this big. So they're not a consistent size and shape, but I don't mind that at all because some of the little ones were nicer for salads, and then these ones just nice for slicing, and then the big ones we use for cooking. But they're lovely pink colour with these purple shoulders. Gorgeous, gorgeous flavour. Quite deep because of the anthracite with the purple, so you get that like deep tomato flavour, but also like quite tangy, juicy, sweet. It's everything all in one. I really recommend those. Amethyst Jewel. Cherry wise, obviously we've got Spoon, and then we have one, I don't think I've got any left, but it is called Dino Eggs, which is a lighter yellow, so it's kind of like a Dugin White kind of yellow, but a pointy version of this, so fatter, and it goes down to a point, and it's got green flecks that run through it. Really, really enjoyed those. She loved chopping them up and eating them, so we'll be growing those again, maybe a couple more plants. Cherry wise, Barry's Crazy Cherry. Now I did a review for these on Instagram and I was like, not that fussed. Over the season, when it stopped raining so darn much, they sweetened up. They went really, really nice. It's kind of the flavour that I expect some gold would have tasted like, but they didn't. And these were really very, very nice. And what I've done with them is, the two favourite ways of cooking them, obviously, other than using them in salads, is I pop them in a pan with just like a splash of oil, and use these and some other ones like Jackass Yellow, which is another great one, which is a small yellow cherry that I might grow again next year. I haven't decided yet. Some like a Tigerella and some other bits and bobs, whatever I had to hand. Cook them down until they go soft, and then I put them with like a sprinkle of cheese on some Rivita with loads of black pepper. That was very nice. And also I put them whole into stews and curries and soups and things like that. And then because the skin is quite thick, I found that when they cook down, they go soft, but then when you eat them whole, they just pop and like this explosion, and they go really sweet. So in curries and that, it was a really, really nice addition. So what else do we have? Tigerella. Now this, can you see? Lighting is terrible in here. It was really bright a minute ago before I set up the camera. I thought it's perfect. Natural light coming through the window. No. So Tigerella, I wasn't actually intending to grow at all, but Cheryl, Homestead in the Highlands, the darling that she is, she sent me some seeds. I thought, I'll give a couple a go. Ended up growing loads of them, but only growing loads of them, selling loads of them when Rue did her tomato sale. But I only grew 2 plants. Now I wish I had grown more. These are the perfect, like, dicing up into quarters salad tomato. Beautiful flavour, really pretty. Rue just consumes them constantly, and they're just really, really nice and very prolific too. The plants had a lot of fruit from them, were weighed down with fruit. Not one of these actually got blight, not a single one. And also they, the plants were just really healthy. So they've all ripened. Every single one of them has ripened. So cannot complain about Tigerella. I will be growing that again for sure. So that is all of the tomatoes that we grew that are worth mentioning, either because we're not going to grow them or because we loved them. I've got a couple on my phone here on a list that we are hoping to try next year. Oh, it's worth mentioning as well, Black Icicle and Malachite Box. Black Icicle is that kind of size, but it goes the brown of Black Crim, which is brown. That looks red under this light. And they are green when you cut it to them inside, or a dark green. They're very, very nice as well. So it actually grew up to be really healthy, but didn't get that many on. Now it's still outside, and it's got loads of green fruits on it, but they're not ripening. And we've also got a Malachite Box outside, and that's got some fruit on, and that's not ripening either. If we get more fruits off them, I'll update you if they're worth growing again next year. But some that I wanted to grow, I want to grow a German orange strawberry. So it's kind of an ox shape, but more rounded rather than flat, because that's quite flat. And it's orange, as the name suggests. I actually wanted to try, sorry I'm squeaking while I'm rubbing this, I wanted to try Mortgage Lifter purely for a big round red tomato and for the dude to have on his burgers and sandwiches. Solidaki I want to try, which is, it looks kind of like great white purple kind of shape, the flutedness, but a little bit bigger. And it's a pink tomato again. I really like pink tomatoes, and I really want to give that one a go. Cordybu, can't pronounce anything. The Traveller tomato, because I just think it's cool. I've had that on my list for a couple of years, and I know where I can get seeds now, so I'll be getting those. A Black Beauty and Cherokee Purple, because we've fallen in love with that kind of dark, smoky tomato. So I think that's it, guys. I think that's a rundown of what we have grown, what we didn't like and what we did. Obviously that isn't going to be my list of next year's tomatoes, because I'm pretty sure that loads more are going to be added to it, because it's us and we've got the polytunnel, so we'll be adding a lot more. Somebody did send me some seeds the other day, actually. Someone sent me some seeds. I've grown some of them before, but there's some new ones in there that I've not tried. I need to look into them more. I know one of them was Rosella. I'm not sure if that's an F1 or a Open Pollinated, but I will find out. So yeah, that's what our tomatoes look like now, and I am just going to slice through these. I'm going to turn the camera down, slice through them, because I'm going to store them away, and I will put on the screen what each one of them is. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Enjoy the slicing of tomatoes so you can see what they look like inside, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching. So you're chopping all the tomatoes for us? You did, yes, because you made dinner, didn't you? So Rue's going to chop up all these tomatoes now, and then we're going to put them in the freezer.
Yay!
Thank you, Missy.